Hi, Nathan. Jeff Allen here, and I just want to get back to this question you asked up in LinkedIn last week. I haven't been able to answer because I had a few other things to do this past week, and you had a question about the whole Olympics, the Paris Olympics opening ceremony. Uh, was that scene with, was that scene of the dinner, was it the Last Supper, or was it Leonardo da Vinci's, painting of the Last Supper? Was it mocking Christianity, or was it Dionysus, the Greek god of wine? Um, so I'm going to answer this from different points of view. Number one, I've lived in France for 35 years. Okay, and I understood the words of the song that are being sung, which a lot of people I've heard critiquing this didn't even listen to the song. Actually, turned off the TV, didn't even listen to the song, and are French and are critiquing it. So you got to understand the words of the song first. And a lot of Anglophones that don't know how French is, they don't either critiquing something, not even knowing that part of it. So the second thing is I happen to have an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree in biblical studies and hermeneutics and the history of the world religions of the Middle East and Western civilization. So I actually have a degree in this topic from not a little podunk school. Okay, it's in my LinkedIn profile and Facebook. So let me kind of go through this and kind of walk through a number of the points because I've been listening and watching and watching a lot of people critiquing it that number one don't understand French culture, and are making a big deal about something by critiquing, believing they need to stand for something, need to believe they need to defend something which wasn't even being attacked from at least my point of view. And I've seen a lot of, I think this is a big thing for the Protestant evangelicals. I'll say that. I've actually read that some of the Catholics too, the French Catholics had been said something about it, but I had not heard anything from the Catholic side in general. But the French Protestant, the Protestant evangelicals, both in North America and in France, have been making big statements about this. And I've actually been very disappointed in their analyses because they start out by defending, saying it was the Last Supper. They don't actually go in and pick it apart for what it was factually. Okay, so let's deal with some facts here. From somebody who's lived in France and was watching it with a French person, okay, and actually getting, and we were actually watching it and making statements about listening to the song and saying, well, this doesn't, and I didn't see myself the relationship to the Last Supper directly, because I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't trying to look for that. I was listening to the song and saying, and when I went back and listened to it again after I heard the comments, I said, this had nothing to do with it if you put yourself into the situation, okay? And what's happening in diversity inclusion in France, and then you got the whole law of equality. So lots of things to say about this point. So let me start with the French culture. French culture believes in the three key words in the Fifth French Republic, which is the current one. Three key words. Equality is one of them. Okay, and based on that fact, in 1905, that the state and the religion and the state were separated. So church and state, religion and state, actually, not church and state, because there are other religions that have churches, they have temples or whatever. Were separated in 1905 compared to 1901. Nonprofit associations were created in 1901, and nonprofit religious institutions were created in 1905 to be able to make that separation, which has endured and gone on forever since. For them to basically have churches and temples, to have meetings, to have a nonprofit status, all this kind of stuff. So this is really important to see that the whole the equality aspect of it, of the three key words of the motto of the French Republic is equality, which is you can go down to any hospital, and it's called a laity. Now they use the word laïque, which means laity, but it's not a good translation. In that sense, it means to not actually prefer any religion over one or another. You're not allowed to basically proselytize or to convince anybody. Evangelization, you want to. You're not supposed to do that. And you're not supposed to prefer it. So there's no prayer in school stuff because there's no preference for any religion. You can say what you can believe what you want, but you're not supposed to promote one. Okay, and so this is pretty much across French society everywhere. Give you the hospitals and stuff. I mean, I've seen this the 35 years I've been here. Okay, so this is just kind of part of the living here. There is a history of the going back to that Inquisition. If you look back to the 15th, 16th centuries and look at the Inquisition, and then go as far down to the 1900s, go to the early 20th century, with the issues of Protestants versus Catholics in the Cevennes in the Pyrenees area. I mean, there's a history of this stuff. The Catholics and the French, Catholics and the Protestants, going back, back to the kind of the medieval, not quite medieval times, but that whole time period of about 1500 on. Okay, that's a whole history lesson. I can't go through and explain all this stuff to the other one. I'm just going to give some highlights here. So there is a history of the relationship with religion in France, and it's not actually the Spanish speakers, both in Spain and in South America, are a lot more Catholic than French. Okay, I'll say that. So let's look at that point of view. That equality is a very important thing, and diversity and inclusion where no one's favored. So there's been a lot of colonies. We have a lot of different races, if you want to call them races, ethnic groups that have been represented and stuff, and a lot of them got their independence. So there's a lot of focus in the French current society of not favoring any ethnic group and having equality. This is a general thing. There's been a whole movement now to the whole LGBT and all that, pride movement. I mean, there's been a lot of that, and I've seen that in my own company, the company I work for. Over the years, a lot of supporting that because it's part of equality. Okay, everybody is treated equal. So, and then that comes back to the French, the motto I said about the French Republic. So, equality. So we got to get that scene there because we got to get this underlying basic, which is not true in the United States. Period. The United States, there's a huge belief that the United States is based on the founding fathers who were Christians. Well, they weren't. They were deists. And if anyone reads a little bit of the history and looks at what Christian historians say about the colonies of the United States, history of that from a religious point of view, got to read the book Search for a Christian America. Okay, and that debunks the whole thing. Okay, so 3 authors, very good. Go look it up. Search for a Christian America. Great book. And it pretty much provides a good historical backing of that. And from Christian historians that run the Institute for, the 2 of them actually, where I've been in one of the main institutes that study this. So, yeah, I mean, I've got the book. I don't have the book here. It's at home, so I don't have it with me. So it's really important to see that the focus is coming from this. A lot of the companies are coming from the North Americans, which have this belief that that is the last summer of Da Vinci's painting, which is actually we don't actually have in the States. Actually, we don't have any museums because we don't have much culture that way. You come to France, everybody, all kids and stuff grow up going to museums and stuff with their parents. I mean, they're all over the place. The museums are everywhere. Kids go to it. You go to the States and people have never been in a museum before, okay, because there just aren't that many. So French people will actually grow up going to museums, including the one in Dijon, where is the painting of Dionysus. And that is in the museum in Dijon, France. Okay, so now what was this painting about? Now a lot of people say that it happened to be Jesus in the Last Supper, But if you actually look at the painting of Dionysus, who's the Greek god of fertility? Wine. Wine, France. France is known for wine. Okay. Actually, Dijon's quite known for wine. But another key thing in there is that the painting has, in the center of it, the god Apollo with the halo. Saw a halo on the person. They didn't look like apostles in that ceremony at all. Didn't look like apostles to me. But there's just that little similar little halo thing, right? But another thing that gives it away is who Dionysus or Bacchus in Roman, the Roman gods. Greek and Romans have different names, right? For the gods. Dionysus has a daughter, and the daughter's name is Sequana. Who's Sequana? She's the goddess of the Seine River. And guess what? The Seine River is in Paris. And later in that ceremony, we saw a horse galloping along the river with the person on it. Sequana. So if you take the whole ceremony into play, into consideration, there are references, multiple references happening during the ceremony, not just that specific event. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm not going to speak about the rest of the things of, the three gay men and all that. I don't want to get into all those things. That's whatever. But the actual ceremony, that actual scene, and the references to those, it's looking at Dionysus, and Dionysus is the goddess of wine, ecstasy, and orgies. I mean, this is normal. And guess what? These have happened all along. Right? This is nothing new. And there's lots of celebrations of this. And French people talk about it anyways. Yes, French people talk these things, They joke about sex all the time. But what you have to do is say, why is there this? Why is the Christian Protestants, mainly Protestant evangelicals, are really having a problem with this? Why are they having to protect this? Why do they have to defend this thing? Whereas, people listen to it all the time. I mean, it's just not, there's no attack. It's just, this is how it is. And there are pagan religions. What do you want to call these things? All along. I mean, Christianity has taken a lot of pagan religions, if we want to call pagan religions, and turned them into Christian events as well. So Christmas, there was a Christmas tree, right? Well, then you got, and Santa Claus, right? Well, you add Jesus to it and you get the whole thing, right? Easter had eggs. There are a lot of these religions actually had feasts at certain points of the year, and Christianity just replicated those and added some kind of Jesus's birth, Jesus's death. So along with those, sometimes it was the actual date, sometimes it wasn't. Yes, Jesus did not die in the month of December. And in December, he more likely died during the month of, more likely born in the month of May. Okay, so maybe not the same year too. But all these things are kind of important to keep in mind. So I've already gone 13 minutes of this thing, and there are probably a lot more things to say. But I think that this is just, a lot of people are making trying to defend this thing, where it's just just let it be. I mean, the French people. Yes, there's a relationship between the Greek god Dionysus and his daughter, the girl, the goddess of the Seine River. There's a relationship there, and the whole impact of Greek gods and Roman gods on French culture is in place. And kids take lots of history classes. My kids have grown up here; they've taken more history than any American kid I've ever known. And I loved history, and I was kind of the oddball. But here, it's part of regular culture talking these things. And you can talk to pretty much any French person, and they can tell you a lot about history that no American of 2,000, 3,000 years going back, right? That hardly any American could even talk about more of the 300 years that there's in U.S. history, right? Of colonization history, okay? So we can add to that the whole Indian background, if people have actually studied anything about the native Indians in their history on the continent there, but let's not go into that. So, trying to just kind of give a overview. I think that Protestant evangelicals are making a bigger deal about it than it should be, and and don't try to get defended over something that actually wasn't being attacked. So, and try to read into it and interpret it as being attacked. It just, and you got to listen to the song. If you listen to the song, it's referring to it's referring pretty much kind of the festivity that would go along with Dionysus. I mean, just it kind of fits along to it. I said again, I said this doesn't make sense. It has no bearing whatever with the Last Supper at all. So that's my thoughts on it. Okay, thanks so much.